So you don't necessarily have to screw me right into the end of your existing grips. You can just put me on fresh. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Chris, you're up.
Hello friends, we're back with No Putts Given 46. Thanks for being with us today. And we've got a fun one. We're having an old-fashioned debate, high school senior president style. And who plays better on Tony's home course, Tony or Tiger Woods? We're going to take a look at the new Tour Stats article that just hit the website. Let's get it.
No Putts Given is powered by MyGolfSpy, the most extensive reviews in golf. Before you buy, MyGolfSpy. 9 million readers do it every year. Check us out.
All right, we've got Tony, Harry, and Chris here with us this weekend. As always, we do appreciate everybody being here and listening to us. We do ask that if you have any thoughts or feedback, leave us a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave some comments. We want to know what you're thinking. Doesn't mean we're going to listen to you, but we still want to know.
Let's hear from you. But not really.
But not really.
Send us a comment we may disregard.
Like I said last week, I read them all, so I want to hear from you. But guys, how are we doing this week?
Yeah, it's...
another day, another dollar.
That was a heavy sigh.
Yeah.
No, I got my flavor of the week. We're doing a little Choco Mint CBD this week.
Choco Mint.
From Cannabis Nabby.
Yeah, it goes good with coffee in the morning, so
Okay.
I'm happy with it. That's how my week's going.
I'm one of those people that I don't like my chocolate with my mint. I like chocolate and I like mint, but if you put them together, I'm not about it anymore.
Really?
This is coming from a girl who likes the food separated on the plate. She doesn't like ketchup touching her tongue.
It's very acidic. I like the flavor of it, but I don't. If I got like ketchup on my finger, I would not lick it off. Nope.
What did I marry into is the question.
Well, I can only imagine Thanksgiving. Like, holy cow.
It gets a little rough, but
It's a shit show.
It all ends up in the same place anyway, so
yes,
whatever.
but I want to taste all of it individually.
Anyway.
Wow, we went off the rails quickly today.
Anyway, okay, so no putts given. Tony, this week, Foresight announced that they are launching a new shot tracking device. Tony, can you give us, we don't have much insight, but can you give us what you know?
Yeah, so unlike the others, right, the key differentiation here is it's not really a device. It's just an app. It's called For. In that same space competes with Shot Scope and Arccos. The key differentiator here is that Foresight has a technology they call ASD, automatic shot detection, or it may be AST for automatic shot tracking. I think it's ASD, but don't hold me to it. It's one of the two patented technology. And the idea here is that using a smartwatch or conceivably with your phone in your pocket, it sounds like based on the read, it can actually sort of recognize that you have engaged in a golf movement, so to speak. And so it will record the location of the shot based on what your body is doing. So you don't need sensors on your club. And then from there, it works like other apps where you have an analysis platform, a web portal, if you will, so you can kind of go look at your individual round, make adjustments, see strokes gains, that sort of thing, and ultimately, hopefully, identify weaknesses and things for you to work on. So again, key point of differentiation is that it's a sensor-free shot tracking technology. It's actually like a 2+ year old platform, I believe. Originally called Babrassi, and it looks like basically Foresight has acquired that company and is in the process of tweaking the platform and making it its own and sort of providing an alternative in that space. And at the same time, I'd point out, right, it's Wu-Tang 101, diversify your bonds. So Foresight stepping out of being just a launch monitor company. They have that electric push cart that hopefully finds its way to the test facility one of these days. And now a shot tracking platform as well. So not just a launch monitor company anymore.
Okay, well, disclaimer, we haven't tried it yet, but what we have tried, you mentioned earlier, Arccos and Shot Scope. So I thought it would be fun to have an old-fashioned, like, high school auditorium debate about which one is better. So Harry and I are going to be the moderators. Tony, you're not Tony anymore. You're now Arccos. Chris, you're no longer Chris, you are Shot Scope. So are the two of you ready to engage in a very heated debate style debate?
Yeah.
Harry's going to keep the time. So we're going to start with a couple of rounds here.
That's very official.
That looks very official.
Yep. You're going to have 3 minutes to respond. I'll ask for a rebuttal from each of you, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Bring it.
So after when you hit 3 minutes, I'm gonna go do 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 do, and then that'll be the end.
Please.
That really should be the end of everything.
I was going to say,
It should be.
I will stop at 2 minutes just to avoid that.
Okay.
All right.
Is it lunchtime yet?
Serious faces now. Matt, dim the lights. We're ready to go. So, gentlemen, in round 1, I'm going to start with Mr. Arccos here. Tony, oh, you're not Tony anymore. Mr. Arccos, can you please introduce yourself and give us a brief opening statement?
Well, apparently my name is Mr. Arccos, and I am not the original shot tracking platform, but I am the GOAT to date. I have the most technology, the most robust feature set, and as far as I know, I'm the only platform that leverages artificial intelligence to make a club recommendation. Also, my sensors can be embedded into grips from Lampkin and I believe Golf Pride, if not yet, coming soon. So you don't necessarily have to screw me right into the end of your existing grips. You can just put me on fresh. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Embedded sensors. Chris, you're up. Yeah, do.
That should be on a t-shirt, like right away.
100%.
You're a millionaire right then. And
Chris, you're done. Can't beat that.
I was going to say, this is going to be hard to get back on track.
Can we just please go to round 2?
No. Mr. Shot Scope, can you
Yes.
please introduce yourself and give us a brief opening statement?
Yes. After that, I'm compelled to just move on to round 2 and skip the personal introductions. However, I would say that yes, Mr. Arccos was maybe first to the game, but you always need a rough draft before you come up with a final copy in this industry. And so, what I've been able to determine is that what's important about this space isn't who got there first. It's about what are you doing since then? How quickly can you refresh product lines? What additional features can you offer? And basically, how quickly can you improve and give people different user interfaces? And so, some people want to discuss who is the first car to get on the highway. I want to discuss which car can go the fastest.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Shot Scope. Moving on to round 2. This is for you, Mr. Arccos. You've proclaimed that the Arccos Caddy is golf's first artificial intelligence platform. Tell us why you believe you are the most technologically advanced shot tracking system and why that makes you the right choice over Shot Scope.
So the big advantage Arccos has in this space is that it can analyze data from your round, your previous swings, couple that with course knowledge, and make a recommendation for the club you should hit on every single shot over the course of your round. That's it. I'm done.
like 20 seconds.
I win.
Done.
Okay,
Done. 20 seconds.
fair enough. Mr. Shot Scope, your rebuttal.
To what exactly am I rebutting?
The fact that I have a feature you don't, that you can't do that.
Oh, artificial intelligence, absolutely. That's a place where Arccos has been able to run ahead a little bit. I would want to note that there are a number of different options that are out there for people in terms of figuring out how to, because really what we're talking about is course management, right? How to make better decisions on the course. And one of those things is correct that you can't use Arccos Caddy during an actual competitive event, correct? And so as such, yeah, you can use it during practice rounds and those kind of things. But if you're really a competitive golfer, you have to be able to take that information and use it during actual competitive rounds. Now, the way in which you do that,
Caddy is tournament legal because it does not.
It is
Mr. Arccos, I will give you an opportunity to rebut the rebuttal.
Is it tournament legal so long as you don't have certain features turned on or whatever?
I believe so.
Well,
Mr. Arccos, please
I
elaborate.
don't know my product detail inside of that. No, yeah. So that was one of the big hurdles with the release of the Caddy product, was getting it past the USGA. And so the sort of the fix for that is you can still use Caddy because it relies on data from previous rounds, similar to using an actual caddy who is aware of how far you hit clubs and things like that. The thing that it can't do is use data from the current round. I don't believe it's allowed to import the weather information or things like that. So you can't use your sort of real time, here's how you're hitting the ball today, dummy kind of stats, but it is powered by past round data.
Okay. Mr. Shot Scope, does that conclude your rebuttal?
I think so for this point.
Harry, do your thing.
Sounds like a
Okay.
battery dying on like on a Bluetooth speaker.
Moving on to round 3. Mr. Shot Scope, this one is for you. Over the course of your campaign, if you will, you've relied on your superior course mapping as a primary reason that golfers should rely on you. What makes your course mapping superior?
Again, I think it's specificity, it's accuracy, and it's the ability to update it frequently, right? So if somebody comes to us with, hey, my course had this, this particular bunker was redone, added a tee box, you're talking 24 to 48 hours to get that updated and into the platform, because really the information is only as good as where that information is coming from, right? The other piece that I would add to that is there's a conversation of capability, what the different interfaces can do. And then there's a conversation of usability, which is whether or not the average person is even going to use these, right? You can have all the different features and things that are out there, but if it's difficult to use, then there's always going to be that particular hurdle, right? And so that's one place where ShotScope runs quite a bit ahead, is the idea that taking these shot tracking platforms and basically having it just happen, right? So the fewer things you need to do from the time you get to the course to the time you complete your round, the more likely it is that your average consumer, not your gearhead, techie type, geekazoid person or whatever, is going to use them. You want, right? You want average people, golfers that can benefit from this information to use it. Well, here's what you got to do. If you wear a watch, you wear a watch, and more or less you go play. You don't have to worry about sensors falling out of clubs if you don't want to pay the money for the new grip. If you do put it in a new grip and now your swing weights are all jacked up because the clubs feel a little bit longer, because get this,
20 seconds left.
they are a little bit longer. And the reality is that until just now, you had to carry a phone in your pocket or watch, and we still have the Link thing coming out. We'll see how that works. It was promised a year and a half, 2 years ago or whatever. We'll see, right? And so function.
Thank you, Mr. Shot Scope. Mr. Arccos, I'll allow you 3 minutes for a rebuttal.
All right, first thing I would say, as far as getting started rolling onto the golf course, like literally you open up the app and hit play golf because it detects the course you're on and you're good to go. So I don't understand the complexity argument there. As far as updating maps and things like that, Arccos is super responsive when things need to be modified. I haven't had any issues in that respect. Had to make some adjustments to McGregor early on, as Chris can speak. The routing is a little unusual and perhaps not intuitive if you're trying to build it on a map.
At all.
It's interesting that Chris would bring up the
Mr. Shot Scope.
The watch. Yes, Chris, Mr. Shot Scope would bring up the watch as an advantage, and then mention that, until, basically yesterday, you didn't have the link option with Arccos. I would point out that until earlier this week, Shot Scope required you to effectively wear a satellite dish on your wrist. So, I mean, that watch was basically an iPad. And here's the thing I would say about the watch. And yes, Arccos, for quite some time, you've been able to use an Apple Watch to remove the phone in pocket requirement. So effectively, even except for the part where you have to buy the Apple Watch in that respect. The thing I would say, though, is you go back to ShotScope, which mandates a watch. It used to be like a satellite receiver, a tablet, whatever. Now it's a sensible sized watch. But here's the thing, Chris, I don't know if you're aware of this, you remember this, you saw it, but a few years back, Andrew Rice did a study on the effect of wearing a watch on swing speed. And what he found was that while wearing a watch, the player he tested, and I would assume this is pretty typical, saw a decline of about 1 mile an hour of driver swing speed from a watch. And that makes sense, right? Your hand is moving through air just like a club head. You're creating wake. You're not shredding vortices. You don't have a vortex shredder on your wrist. So you're going to run into trouble there. So you're essentially talking about a device that is mandated to use the product that ultimately may cost you performance by way of swing speed. So, ultimately, I think Link is a better solution because, it goes in my pocket. It doesn't slow me down. I'm not impacted by sweat on it or anything like that. So yeah, it was we're late to the game with that. And technically speaking, it's still not here yet, but it's, I
was going to say, do you have one? Can you show me what this looks like yet, or is it still theoretical?
It's about this big, but I think ultimately that's the better solution is not having to wear something that's going to potentially slow my swing down. Just saying. 2
questions for you.
I'll allow your questions, Mr. Shot Scope.
Yes, thank you. So 2 questions for you. Number 1, has there been any studies done relative to needing to have an iPad in your pocket, which is basically, or iPhone in your pocket, which is basically what Arccos has mandated until, because you had the watch option, which, okay, maybe that holds water, maybe it doesn't.
Good question.
I would note there's a couple guys on tour. I don't know, maybe Phil Mickelson, certain guys that have worn watches
Bubba.
and 110s.
Bubba has that.
Yeah, and okay, so 1 mile an hour. What difference is 1 mile an hour?
Approximately 2.6 yards.
2.5, 2.6 yards of carry.
People have bought drivers for less.
And it certainly hasn't hurt guys that are playing at the absolute highest level. But that being said, does the Arccos Link system solve that particular issue? The only answer we can possibly give right now is we don't know. Because we haven't tested it, we don't have it, we haven't seen it. Hopefully it functions well. Hopefully the extra 18, 24 months it took to actually get the product to market.
I've seen very high resolution photos. You can't put it in a high resolution photo if it doesn't exist.
But we'll see how it works, right? Point being, who knows? Maybe somebody has copious belt sweat, and maybe that impacts what's going on here. The point is, we don't know. We do know what Shot Scope does. So if you were a betting person, would you go with what you know works now today very well? Or would you take a leap and say, yeah, this one that took an extra 2 years to get out to market, I'm putting all my money on that. That feels risky to me.
High resolution photographs.
High resolution photos.
That's a good rebuttal. I think that's a good rebuttal.
What's the durability of these things? Because I swear, there's been times I may or may not have seen you throw a putter and your Arccos unit went exploding off the putter into, I think it was the green behind number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's between 10 and 11. But maybe that's a story for a different time.
It actually probably would have been the green on 11. That tends to be where I throw the putter the most. It's a very difficult green, and sometimes, even though it's a par 3, you're on in 5 just because, like there's
because you miss it short right on the grassy knoll of death.
Exactly.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to move on to our last round.
The dog says I already won. See, look,
I don't know yet. That's for Harry and I to decide. This question is for both of you. Both of you claim to help golfers improve their game. What makes each of your methods or correlating technologies the right ones to help golfers best improve their game? Let's start with Mr. Arccos.
Like I said, we have been doing this longer. We have a larger user base to pull data from. We have tools, the artificial intelligence that nobody else has. It's just an unmatched platform right now. And it really is that simple. Like, again, we can tell you what club to hit on the golf course based on your past performances. Not what you think you should hit because, you think it goes this far and this course is new to you, so you're just guessing. No, we can tell you what you need to do to basically lower your scores, optimize your round, if you will.
Mr. Shot Scope, same question to you.
Yeah, so look at what keeps people from improving. right? What really, in terms of course management things, what really gets in the way of golfers shooting lower scores? And really, it's bogey avoidance. It isn't necessarily making more birdies. It's really playing smarter and kind of backing yourself into a good round, right? It's not necessarily, hey, I want to go from making, 3 birdies around, I'm going to lower my scores by making 6 birdies around. Really about 70%. If you're a 70 shooter, if you're kind of in that high 70s area and you're trying to get down, about 70% of your improvement is going to come from making fewer mistakes, making fewer bogeys, not necessarily from making more birdies. And so it's understanding kind of the methodology and the psychology behind what actually helps improve golfers. You can have all the artificial intelligence you want. We're using real intelligence. And so what I mean by that is we're going to use what we see, not what some algorithm tells us, but actual players at the highest level to help improve how the game actually is played and how better players will actually improve.
My rebuttal to that one isn't the golf industry based on data and AI right now?
Yes, but it's been based on AI for a long time. Now we're just coming up with fancy terms to say computers doing more work. We've had smart learning and learning technologies all along. It's like twist face becoming bulge and roll. Well, that's been around. It's just now we have fun names like artificial intelligence because that sells things, right? It's really computers have been doing a lot of work. It's not just like human intelligence doing work the whole time. It's always been a combination of those. We're just using terms that help us sell different products. And I guess, there's some things that computers absolutely 100% do better than humans.
Like complex calculations.
However, there are some things that humans will do better than computers, for sure. Like reading a lie, right? Like understanding grain, like understanding, okay, how much sand is actually in this bunker.
Does Shot Scope have lie reading technology and bunker sand analysis?
Yes. These are things that are coming. That's not true. But I'm saying
I was going to say that's definitely a fallacy.
I was like, all right, I'm out. I don't know.
The human, we're working on that. We actually have a thing where it just,
you dump a little sand on that. That's why the watch was so big. Was it originally had functionality?
Yes.
Was future proof, so you could dump sand on it to analyze it.
Yes, it could sense moisture in the ground. Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, all of these different platforms, they're only as good as the individual using them and whether or not the individual is going to...
So you're saying they all suck?
I'm saying they all have a ceiling, and I think there's limitations right now. Like I said, the nice thing, if you're a tour player, right? The idea is, you just show up, they have shot link data, all this stuff. You maybe even have a team of statisticians or somebody that you work with that tabulates all this stuff for you. You don't worry about any of it. Literally, you just show up and play and they give you, right, the information from a stat tracking perspective. The more that these companies can get to that type of a situation where you literally just show up and maybe hit one button or two or whatever the case is, I think that's where you're really going to start to see people run ahead. That's why, honestly, I think Link is a big possibility for Arccos. I think having embedded sensors and grips is helpful to a degree, although I would argue it's not where I would be yet at a position where I'd want to pay for those particular grips at this point, because it's such a limited array of grips. So it really does limit what you're able to purchase. But you wear a watch, you show up, go play golf. It really is just that simple. And so we'll see. I don't think any of them would say they have it all figured out, that they're where they want to be yet. And I would contend they're not there yet.
Okay, gentlemen, I thank you for your contributions thus far. I'd like to close with a brief closing statement. Mr. Arccos, would you like to go first?
No, I mean, I think he just kind of said that I won because he made up some some technologies that didn't exist, and then said that Link was a pretty good start. So I think Mr. Shot Scope just made the case for Arccos, and he's probably going to get a letter from the actual Shot Scope guys for failing to represent properly. I mean, look, I think he's right. Arccos is the better platform. So what he said there was good. And ultimately, I would agree that both platforms need work to get to the point where there's no maintenance involved. That's kind of what I see as one of the major hurdles for both, is that it's neither is perfect, right? You miss shots, you miss lies, things like that, where it may not necessarily know with the degree of precision where you are on the golf course relative to a pin, even with the tagging, right? When you think about how much variance there is in GPS, right? It's always plus or minus a few yards. And while that plus or minus in terms of tracking stats maybe isn't important from 200 yards out, when you're plus or minus 2 to 3 yards on a green, now your putting data gets a little wonky. So
20 seconds.
Lots of, better platform, but room to improve.
Close us out, Mr. Shot Scope.
All right. I do not concede any of the points that that Arccos just made. I am not arguing for. I would say they're a solid second place in this conversation. I would absolutely concede that. But the two places where I would close is this relative to Shot Scope. If you've looked over the last 2 to 3 years, right, one of these two companies has more or less stayed stagnant, not entirely stagnant, but marginal improvement. There's a lot of frustrations. I think there are a lot of people that left platform because they were promised something and frankly didn't deliver. Hasn't happened yet with Shot Scope. If anything, the converse is what's been true, is that Shot Scope has improved each generation. The changes have happened on time. And so if you're looking at a company that says, hey, in the future, we're going to do this, this, and this, one of the two companies, you're not sure if that's going to be in 6 months or 24 months. And that's difficult as a consumer because you want to buy into future improvements. I would say the other thing is that with our superior course mapping technology, the data is only as good as the course that you're currently playing and the accuracy of what that is. If you're mapping stuff that isn't wholly accurate and now you're off by 5 yards, 3 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards, who knows?
Just keep it.
How does that
27 yards, 35, 53. Like, you don't even know. You could be on one golf course and it says you're on another.
That's what I'm saying. Or if there's a brand new tee box, Shot Scope, boom, 48 hours, your new tee box is in there. Arccos, 18 months? I don't know.
No, not for a tee box. It's hours typically.
Hours? 100% guaranteed. Is that guaranteed like Link was coming out 12 months ago guaranteed, right, or is this different?
Why do I just keep showing this to you and you act like there's nothing here?
I know.
Okay. That concludes our debate. What I'd like to do is for both of you to take your headphones off so that my fellow judge and I can confer and decide the winner. Okay. So I think, without a doubt, Arccos takes the first round. The opening statement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My thoughts are that Arccos played a very steady, good, well thought out game. Shot Scope's rebuttals were on point though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did like the rebuttal of the Shot Scope for sure.
Okay. So we've got to pick a winner here. Okay, who do you think?
Shot Scope.
That's sort of what I was thinking. I thought
won that round.
I think he built something that was impenetrable. I think he was the underdog, but I think his arguments were hard to get into and debunk. So we're agreed?
I think so.
Okay. Gentlemen, put your headphones back on. So, here's what we thought. We thought, Tony, on Arccos, your opening statement was superb. You won round one.
Typical.
And throughout the debate, you played very, very good chess. However, the rebuttals that Shot Scope gave you were hard for you to come back and penetrate. So I think for that reason, because Shot Scope was the underdog coming into this debate, I think we've got to give it to him. Shot Scope takes this one.
Hey, look what I found, Tony. It's theoretically available.
You know, like first of all, this is bogus. His rebuttal were technologies that didn't exist, like reading grain and sand. But you know what? Congratulations, Chris. You know what? I think you should get a prize, and that prize is going to be an Arccos link when it's actually available.
Here's where I saw a little bit of a fall off with Arccos. Is you failed to mention one of the biggest changes in the golf industry is Arccos has been helping companies and OEMs change their clubs based on the Arccos data. Without that, I think that's why you lost, because you see it in Ping. I've been using that data to figure out, all right, majority of golfers are missing the ball right. So let's do whatever driver we need to make that not a thing.
I had a rebuttal ready for that too. I was so ready for that one.
See the rebuttals. Your arguments, your game is in your rebuttals.
You're right. That is a place where Arccos, 100%, I would absolutely concede the point that Arccos has done a much better job of getting in, Cobra and then Ping, companies that we both find to be, I think, very R&D focused, innovative, making real changes based on good information.
And I'm guessing they won't be the last.
Yeah, and I'm guessing they won't be the last either. Here's the problem with that is, as any company, you only have so many directions you can go at any one time, right? And every decision takes resources. Well, every decision you make to go heavier with OEMs is de facto a decision to move away from consumers. And basically what's happened is ShotScope, we've kind of gone the other way, where it's been entirely customer-centric and individual-focused, as opposed to looking at working with OEMs. And so that's part of the reason.
Now even though I've apparently already lost, I have to add a rebuttal there.
But did I mention that Link took like an extra year and a half or something? I wonder why these things are, when that's something consumers were clamoring for.
It's interesting you suggest that Arccos isn't consumer focused, golfer focused. I can't think of anything that speaks to being more focused on golfers than one, the coach panel, right? The coaching dashboard where your golf coach can look at your stats and address them directly. But the other one is the partnership that Arccos has formed with fitters like TXG and Club Champion, where they can review your data after a fitting and make adjustments based on that to ensure that what you paid for, what you spent good money on. Irons expensive, drivers expensive, right? To validate the fitting and come in and say, hey, this is what I see, and to have your fitter be able to look at that and go, yeah, you know what, let's tweak this and try again. I mean, how do you put a price tag on that? Should have talked about that sooner. I think I just won. Too late.
How many golfers?
This is why you would have won.
That's why I didn't bring it up, but I was so
Here's the disclaimer. We didn't pick the winner based on what we think is the best product, just simply debate tactics. So the disclaimer's out there for everyone listening. That's not our direction.
No.
They're both great products at the end of the day.
If there's an answer, do your research. This is certainly fun and no harm, no foul, but tell us what you like. Do these features matter to you? Are those differences things that are, it can be a distinction or a difference, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Shot Scope, and having already lost, there's no harm in putting this out there now.
We're still going.
I bet, and correct, I believe, right, there's no subscription fee with Shot Scope.
Correct, and that was one I didn't get to. There's ongoing costs with Arccos, and it's an interesting developmental area. Like I said, neither company is a finished product, and so that's where I think the conversation of what's next and how quickly they can get there in a way that really helps golfers at the end of the day. That's going to be what I'm watching for ultimately. Is me as the average golf consumer. What is going to help me the most, the quickest, and have the highest value.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you both. That was fun. Hopefully we can do that again. We'll find some more things to pit against each other. There we go. Now it's official.
I just like the noise.
Now it's officially over. And as always, we're keeping you updated on the latest from the MyGolfSpy testing facility. This week, a look at the top premium gloves of 2020. In the top spot is Quater's Between the Lines. A rookie came in and showed the veterans how it's done. It fits like a glove, yes, pun intended. They're stylish, trendy, and the thin leather keeps you perfectly connected to the club. Now, sharing first place is the Ping Tour. This one is no stranger to the winner's circle. It's got a reliable grip and consistent sizing, which means Ping is once again offering a glove for the perfectionist. Next up, the Titleist Players. The Players ranks highly because of fit and construction. The leather is thin and soft, but some might find that the fingers are a bit short considering cadet sizes. Ranking 4th, the Vice Pure. The Vice is a standout because it features the softest leather in the test. It fits snugly and has a consistent grip. The downfall, however, is that they don't offer cadet sizes. And last but not least, the best value premium glove of 2020 is the Kirkland Signature. A whopping $5.75 per glove gets you a quality performance deserving of a higher price tag. The grip is reliable and the glove is comfortable, but the sizing might not always be consistent. If you don't mind that your large might not always fit exactly the same, Kirkland is worth a try. All right, guys, so I also want to talk this week about tour stats. We had another article go out saying, comparing what Tiger Woods would shoot on some of our home courses and some of our readers' home courses. So I want to bring it back. Tony, your course was one of the ones that was highlighted in the article. Do you have the specifics of the numbers of what Tiger would shoot at your home course?
I don't have them in front of me. I just remember having a moment of pride that it was the toughest of the courses we chose. And the courses we chose, Lou Stagner, who pulled the data, we chose his home course, we chose mine, and then we went to Twitter and just pulled three of our followers' courses at random. So, the number, it escapes me what the actual number was, but it was the highest average of any of the courses that we chose.
Which was still like
sub 60. I think it was for low 60, something like that.
And was this Tiger Woods in his prime?
Yeah, so that was the thing. We looked at Tiger in his absolute prime when he was just on a multi-year heater, so to speak. Absolutely destroying all the courses. So yeah, that's what we looked at. And again, we looked at my course, Lou's course, and three others.
How did Tiger compare to your average on your home course, Tony?
Just a few strokes better, to say the least. Chris can attest to the beauty of McGregor Links here in Gansevoort/Wilton, New York. Is that it's a very easy course so long as you hit the fairways and hit greens. But it's one of those things where you don't have to miss by much to be in a world of hurt. So, if some unfamiliarity with the golf course, I think his actual scores would probably be a bit higher than the projections. But if he's having a good driving day, he could absolutely tear it up.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. And, it goes back to this bigger topic. People always want to compare, and to some degree, right, themselves to guys you're watching on TV or gals you're watching on TV. And it's, to me, kind of part of what I took from it is, when you're right next to a tour pro, right? And again, this is, something, not a lot of people have the opportunity to do. A lot of us have had that opportunity to either play with, be around, etc. The differences are very stark, right? They're obvious, they're quantifiable. You understand that you are living in two completely different universes, arguably playing two very different games. They're playing professional golf and you're playing whatever it is that we play, and the further you get away from that, the more you watch it on TV and see these things, it's easy to let those thoughts creep back in your head of, I wonder just how far that distance is. It's massive. It is absolutely a chasm. It's the Grand Canyon, between an average amateur golfer, even a really good amateur golfer, and what these people are doing, playing for a living. And I guess going back to, so the Korn Ferry tournament was at my home course, TPC Colorado, two weeks ago. Will Zalatoris won by a stroke. There were two course records shot that week, both 63s.
As you do.
And I've had the opportunity. I didn't make the cut. But having played that course a bunch and seeing the scores that these guys shot, it made me think, all right, when we play from the tour tees, like out there, and somebody said, all right, what $1,000? you'll get $1,000 if you can shoot this score better. You don't shoot that score, you got to pay $1,000. What number would you put if you put yourself on, say, Muirfield Village this week? And now guys are playing it right now. So Harry, you're in that professional conversation, right? $1,000. I'm going to give you $1,000 if you shoot this score better. If you don't shoot it, you got to pay me $1,000. What's that number?
That's a very good question, Nick. I mean, it could be break 80, maybe.
So you'd put $1,000 on 80, put you on Muirfield Village this week, any round, whatever.
Well, there's lots of variables.
No variable. It's the number and how much money. That's it. 2 variables. Just
There's two.
If you're used to playing for money and big money and are willing to gamble a lot, then you might be more comfortable of doing that. So you might be shooting lower scores. I would say 75.
Mm-hmm. Does it help you to know that Dustin Johnson's like 4 over through 10 right now on Muirfield Village? He may not, he may post something 76, 77.
Yeah, but he ain't a good player.
Yeah, not a professional, not a guy that's won majors and hundreds, millions of dollars or whatever. Tony, how about you? Average tour course, $1,000. I'm putting up $1,000. What's your number?
110.
I was thinking about that, and just for the record, so Harry, you're what, plus whatever handicap? You're saying something maybe mid to high 70s, maybe 80s.
Yeah.
We did this just quickly, like I said, at TPC Colorado. Looked at that. My handicap there is like a 0.8 or 0.5 or something, and given those course conditions, if it's $1,000, I'm at 85. It's hard. It's hard in every way. The course is hard. The pin positions.
How many times have you broken 85 at McGregor from the whites?
McGregor is not my home course. I need more practice. I'm going to come out there once or twice, maybe. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing with those pros. They're probably hitting it into areas that either go past the traps and you might be landing them in there.
Yep.
Or so everything is different when whatever tees you play off, it is the landing area is either widen or narrow. Mm-hmm. So you obviously got to look into that. And then, I mean, these guys are playing for a living. They are doing it every single day in and out. So they're going to be more dialed in. But a big factor is that some of these courses are designed so the guys are hitting to wider parts of the fairway. So they're going to hit more fairways in theory. If you go up and play the whites, that you will be hitting to a narrow fairway or traps. So it's the swings and roundabouts. It's very difficult. Like, I would love to go out and play on a Monday after the tournament, go and play the same pins, same tees, just to see a kind of similarity between it, and then and go from there. But apart from that, that would be tough. Mm-hmm. Like Muirfield Village, I know if I start going sideways, I ain't breaking 80 easy. It's let's try and break 90. It's probably
so now he's gone up to 90.
It's probably a thing. So
yep. I think the other thing that amateurs don't account for, the two things they really don't account for, is number one, how quickly a round can go sideways, and once you lose, kind of like surfing or whatever, if you get behind that wave. There are courses that just get away from you, right? And that's what these guys are playing week in and week out.
How many shots the first time you played McGregor, that heather on the left side of 8 that you found yourself in? How many whacks just to get out of that? Having never experienced it before.
Oh, so yeah. So I did not anticipate how difficult it would be to do that. I think it took me 3 full swings to move the ball. It took me 4 to 5 tiers to recover, and then like another 2 to 3 swings to get it out. I mean, it was probably 4 or 5 shots to get it out of there.
And that's the thing, right? Like if you experience something new, something different, something no fun, you don't think about is the ability to get yourself out cleanly from almost any situation that even a lot of really good golfers don't necessarily have. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, when you play with tour pros, like I play with very good golfers. I play with a couple plus handicaps, all I don't say all the time, but a few times a year. And then you experience something like, a couple of years ago, I played a few holes with Wyndham Clark, for example, and just the sound the ball makes when he hits it off the tee, like it's not an impact noise. It's pain. The ball is in pain. It screams when he hits it. It's different. I played, I tell people all the time when we have this conversation of, could a 4 handicap compete with an LPGA pro? I'm like, look, I played 4 holes with Lydia Ko. We played the same tees. She had 3 birdies and burned the edge on the 4th. The same weekend she played the bad little 9 with all the PGA guys and was the only one under par. Like you have no idea how good they really are until you really experience it firsthand. Playing with Gary Player, 80 whatever the hell years old he is, he hits shots still to this day that the best players I know can't hit. It's just not in their bag. Yeah, you put me on at the tips from a PGA Tour tournament setup. There's probably not if you're asking legitimately, there's probably not a number, maybe 130, where I would think, all right, I got a chance of breaking even or walking away with $1,000.
I just pulled up your course, Tony, and that looks like the same course I grew up on in England. Heather, tight, you have to hit the fairways. If you don't, you're in the heather.
But it doesn't look hard. Like, that's the thing about McGregor, that somebody's like, you look at it and again, off the tee and in some of the shots, it doesn't look intimidating. There aren't necessarily these tee shots where there's like just a tunnel of like 12 yards wide, or something like that, where you're like, oh my gosh, or whatever. And then, like I said, you get going a little bit sideways and you miss in the wrong spots. You're hoping to make bogey, like you're praying to make bogey. And then as soon as you do that, boom.
All we need to do is just phone up Tiger and some of these tour pros and just get them out to these courses and just see what they do. That's easily done.
McGregor, we mentioned the number 11, right? It's a long par 3, but there's nothing. You look down at it, you're staring down at the green. There's absolutely nothing you think that's overly ominous, and then you can miss by a matter of feet, and it's you'd be lucky to escape with a bogey, and sometimes it's
bunker left, dead. Short right, hill of death, dead. Long, dead. But it doesn't look like much. And consider this too, right? People want to throw the handicap numbers out there all the time and some stuff like that, and it's helpful. You have to remember that handicaps are a measure of potential, not actual, right? And even going to this world system where it's 8 out of your previous 20 or whatever, so the divisor's even a little bit more generous, I guess, in terms of what your potential ability is. Take a guy, again, Chad Johnson, nobody knows the name, shot 63, the Corn Ferry event or whatever. Of course, was probably, if you rated it fairly, on the scorecard is like 77 and change. It was at least that 63. That's a differential of like plus 14 on that particular round. How many people have ever even played a round where they post a plus differential for that round, not in tournament conditions? And you have guys that are posting, if they had to post, plus 8, plus 9, plus 10, plus 12 rounds, and they still may or may not cash a check that week.
True.
All right, well, Tour Stats is a really interesting article. You should definitely go to the website and take a look at it. Like I said, this week's edition is How Would Tiger Woods Play on Your Home Course? So some really interesting and innovative usage of data and information there.
All right, so put you on the spot, put everybody on the spot real quick. You're playing tomorrow. You got that $1,000 number, right? You're going to play that tour course, $1,000, you got it. What ball are you teeing up tomorrow?
I am teeing up a Titleist Pro V1X left dash. No hesitation.
Okay. Harry, what are you playing tomorrow?
I'm with my Strixon Z-Star XV because I haven't been told otherwise.
Yep. Miranda, what are you teeing up tomorrow?
Probably the red putt ball.
Yes. Matte, probably a matte finish red ball, Tony?
Putt. Even putt knows not to use a matte finish.
Yeah, they're not.
I'm playing a Titleist Pro V1X, the current generation Pro V1X,
which no one knows what it is anymore because everyone's so confused.
I know.
Otherwise, I play whatever ball Harry tells me to. So does that bring us to a close today, fellas?
Hope so.
I think so.
Do 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 do.
Do 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 do.
Or what?
Yeah, but you got to get deep. You got to go do 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 do, and then you have a pause and you go do.
Do.
We out.